All right, now that we've made a chain, this is 25, I want you to look at your chain and just twist it until you find the best view of where you can see those chains created. And for me, it's this view right here. And the reason that you want to see your chain in the best view possible is because when you turn your work and start crocheting, because you haven't crocheted yet, you've only chained, you're going to crochet into each of those chains. So you need to be able to see the space in which you're putting the crochet hook. So for this demonstration, I'm using a very light colored yarn because it's easier to see through the little chain spaces. If you're just starting with crochet, I suggest starting with a large hook and light colored yarn. Smaller hooks will create smaller chains, and darker colored yarns will create much harder to see spaces. So I always start my students with a large hook and light colored yarn. That being said, I'm going to show you how to turn your work and work a single crochet back into that chain. And most very basic patterns will call for that. As you get into more advanced patterns, it will call for front loop, back loop, middle loop. I'm just going to be doing the top loop or the front loop for this demonstration, which will be this piece of yarn right here. So what that means is you're going to put your hook into the chain space, grab this after you yarn over, and that will be top loop only or front loop only. If your pattern called for a back loop or bottom loop, it would be this one here. And if it called for the middle loop, it would actually be the third strand on the back. And you'll be able to see that better once you get a row of single crochets in. It's really hard to see in a chain, but it's much easier to see with a single crochet. So for a single crochet, you're going to turn your work. So if I was going to continue chaining, I would go like this, right? But I'm just going to keep a loop here on the hook, and I'm going to work back into this space right here. Does that make sense? So this is the top loop only. I'm going to take with this loop still on my hook, I'm going to take the crochet hook, put it into that space, yarn over, which means grabbing the yarn, pull through one, yarn over again, pull through two. That is a single crochet into a chain. The single crochet changes when you are working into a single crochet row, which I'll explain later. And this is also American crochet, or United States crochet. If you're in a different country, they might use British crochet, which is different. So this is American crochet. Be sure that when you read your pattern, you know what crochet you're using, because the stitches are called the same thing, but they are not the same thing. So let's look at that one more time. We just went into that space there. So now we're going to move the hook down the chain into the next chain space. So we're going to put the hook here, go in, top loop only, yarn over, grab the yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. Again, move down the chain. Go through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. Again, move down the chain. Go through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. One more time. Go through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So what you'll see happening here, this is a single crochet. Do you see the chain at the top of that single crochet pattern? When you turn your work to work back into the opposite row, you will be going into that chain if you're just doing a single crochet. There are different stitches that call for you to go around posts and to go through different stitch holes. And that's fine, but this is just a single crochet. So pay attention, because what's most important is getting this foundational row correct. Getting this foundational row correct makes the second row much easier. Most of my students will find that they have no problem learning chaining. It's this first row of single crochet that's an absolute beast, and then the second row of single crochet is very simple. A lot of it has to do with knowing how to hold your project right here at the needle, how to tension the yarn here. And I know that I'm making it look easy, but this has been a couple years of learning for me. It's not easy when you're first beginning, so do not get discouraged and keep trying. We're gonna slow this video down. I'm gonna pull back these single crochets, and I'm gonna try to do it as slow as possible. So this is called frogging. I'm just ripping back these single crochets to get to the end point of that chain. So here we are.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so this is the slowed down version to learn a single crochet into a chain. Remember, this changes depending on the pattern, if it calls for you to pick up 2 loops or 1 loop, but in a chain, you typically only pick up 1 loop. So pay attention to your pattern, and you're going to start with a loop on your hook. Take your hook, put it into that first chain space. See how there's a V right there? You're going to put your hook into that chain space, yarn over, which means grab the yarn by putting it over the hook, pull through 1, go back, grab the yarn again, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a single crochet. Move down the chain. Right there is the next chain space. This is why it's so crucial that you can see your chains. So if your chains are so small that you can't see them, or if your yarn is so dark that you can't see them, it's going to be a much harder project. So move down the chain by inserting your hook into that chain space, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through both loops that are on your hook. Move down the chain. So I've crocheted into this chain, now into that chain, and now I'm moving into this chain here. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over again, pull through both, move down the chain. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through both, move down the chain. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through both, move down the chain. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through both. And when you're very first beginning, sometimes it is helpful to say that out loud, especially if you're an audio learner. It's helpful to say the steps out loud. So I'm going to finish this chain, and I will come back to you and show you how to single crochet into that first row, because the steps may change depending on your pattern. Okay, so I have completed that row of single crochet. I am at the end of the row. Now, in order to turn this, so I'm working back to the left. If you're right-handed, you'll always be working to the left. And if you're left-handed, you'll always be working to the right. That's why it's difficult for a right-hander to teach a left-hander and vice versa, because the direction that you're working in actually does matter. So to turn your work, you're going to chain 1, just like you did down here. You're going to chain 1, rotate your work to the left, then you're going to find that chain, which is right there on top. If you can see it, it's right there. There's a chain right there. And now we're going to work into that chain. So this is where a pattern may call you to do top loop, back loop, bottom loop, middle loop, and the pattern will let you know which loop you should be grabbing. And it does change the outcome of your final project as to which loop you grab. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I want you to grab both loops here. So you're going to put your crochet hook into this space that this chain has created, this space right here, and you're gonna grab both of those loops. So hook in, you've got 3 loops now on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Repeat the process by moving down the chain, and you can see that chain space right here or right there. I find it easier to look from the side, but some of my students do find it easier to look from the top. So insert hook, you should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, move down the chain. Insert the hook, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, move down the chain, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, move down the chain, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again, move down the chain, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again. And you're gonna complete that all the way to the end of the chain. And when you get here, you'll chain 1, turn your work to the left, and continue in the same direction back. If you do this 25 times, you get 25 rows, you'll have a square that's 25 by 25 stitches. I'm gonna slow down this video and attempt to show you that one more time. All right, so we're back here. I've pulled that row of single crochet, and I'm gonna try to slow this down and show you how to turn your work. So I'm at that very last single crochet in the row. I'm going to chain 1. And the reason I chain 1 is to give myself some height when I turn my work to work back this way. If you don't, what you'll get is these round corners that don't necessarily line up with each other. So I've chained 1, I'm turning my work to the left, I'm finding that first chain space, and I'm going to insert my hook into both of those chain spaces and pick them both up. So insert hook, I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again. Next space, which is this space right here. Insert the hook, I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again. Move down the chain. This is the next chain space. It's a little difficult to see right there. If I pull it apart, you can find it. It's right there. But it's easier to see if you turn your work sometimes and look at the top, and then you'll see that V. So find the V, insert hook, grab both loops. You should have 3 loops on your hook now. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again. Move down the line. Insert hook, 3 loops on hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again, move down the chain. Insert your hook, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again, and you will continue all the way just like that until you get to the end of this chain. You should have, when you finish, 25 chains on the top of that line. All right, so I've reached the end of that row of single crochet, and at this point, it might behoove you to put a stitch marker here if you use stitch markers, or to go and count these chains to make sure that you're not short or long chains. So if I count my chains, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, let me start that over because I just lost it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And then there's one on my hook, 24. So I must have another, oh, I do have another stitch down here, 25. So it is 25 across. So I have 25. And when you have a small piece like this, it's easy to see that you've reached the end, but once your piece gets longer, it's much harder to track. So some people like to use stitch markers, some people like to use stitch counters, some people just count, some people just visually can look at their project and see that there's 25 there. I kind of mix it up between both. I don't really use stitch markers all that often, but I'm not making very complicated things right now. So I hope that that helps. If you're ready now to turn your work at that 25th stitch, what you're gonna do is you're gonna chain one, turn your work to the left, and work back into each of these chains. So if you turn your work, you'll see that there is a line of chains right there. Easy enough to see. And just like with that row, with that second row that you just completed, you're going to do that on your third row. So you'll insert your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 again, and you'll have your first single crochet of row 3. Some handy tips and tricks that you might consider doing if you're first learning to crochet is practice with different handholds. Start with one, but practice to see if there's one that you like. There are also rings that they make out there, tension rings. I don't use them, I just don't think you need to. But if it is something that would help you, you can think about maybe investing in a tensioner ring. And then also make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of space in between your yarn hand and your hook hand to maneuver the hook. Since I mainly teach younger children how to crochet, the thing that they find the most difficult is that they have small hands, and so they're working very closely together with the yarn and the project, and so it's difficult to keep their project and yarn separate. So one thing I teach them is to create space in between their yarn hand and their project hand. And I think that that's something that would have really helped me when I was first learning to crochet. So by creating space, I mean pull the yarn away a bit and reach over with your grabber fingers, your bunny ear fingers, and grab your project at your hook. So you should have enough yarn. If you stretch your hand out, no matter how big or small your hand is, you should have enough yarn between your hook and your yarn hand that is the same space as the space that this sort of motion creates, if that makes sense. So take your grabber fingers, extend them all the way, position your hook so you can get your fingers right there at your hook. And this is the amount of space you should have to have correct tension while you're learning to crochet. And then once you get more comfortable, you can play with that and tweak it up. But that's just the basics of chaining and single crochet. I hope this video helped.